Alex had always thought life on Earth was predictable. His routine was simple: wake up, go to work, eat something quick, and come back to his small apartment. But all of that changed the day Zara arrived. She was no ordinary roommate. She was an alien from a distant planet called Valor. Alex had expected some small quirks, maybe strange food or unusual hobbies, but nothing could prepare him for someone whose skin shimmered like liquid silver in sunlight, and whose eyes glowed faintly whenever she felt strong emotions. She moved with a grace that was almost hypnotic, like she was aware of everything around her in ways Alex could not understand. From the very first day, there was tension mixed with curiosity. Alex watched her silently unpack, fascinated by the gadgets and glowing orbs she brought from her home planet. She didn't speak much, but when she did, her voice had a soft hum that resonated in the chest, almost like music. Alex realized quickly that communicating with her was more than words. It was about observing subtle gestures, the tilt of her head, the change in her glow. Even small things, like the way she touched a glass of water, felt full of meaning. The first week was a mix of wonder and anxiety. Alex tried to make her feel at home. He offered her human snacks, showed her the apartment's limited space, and even tried to teach her a few simple Earth phrases. Zara responded with slight smiles and sometimes a flicker of laughter that made Alex's chest tighten with curiosity and warmth. There was something deeply fragile about her, as if she had stepped into a world she could never fully understand, yet was trying hard to belong. Then the lockdown began. The city fell silent. Streets emptied and news alerts reminded everyone daily that leaving home was dangerous. For Alex, the lockdown was annoying but manageable. For Zara, it was something entirely different. She could not step outside to stretch her body under the alien sun or access the subtle energy she needed to feel balanced. Within days, Alex noticed small changes. She became restless, packing the apartment at odd hours. Her glowing eyes shifted rapidly from silver to soft amber, and her hums turned sharp and erratic. Alex felt an unfamiliar pang of worry. He had never seen anyone, human or alien, struggle like this in such a visible way. Zara moved with a nervous energy that made the walls feel smaller, the air heavier. When she tried to speak, her voice trembled, breaking in a way that made Alex's heart ache. I feel strange, she whispered one evening, her fingers brushing a glowing orb that floated beside her. Her trembling hand made the orb wobble, and it emitted a soft, urgent light. Alex didn't understand what strange meant, but he knew it was serious. Over the next few days, he observed her closely. He noticed patterns, times when her glow intensified, when her movements became jerky, when her hums grew louder. He realized it wasn't illness. It was a natural cycle, something unique to her species. Still, seeing her suffer without being able to step outside or find her usual remedies terrified him. He felt a strong responsibility, even though he didn't fully know what to do. He couldn't just leave her alone. The emotional weight of the lockdown made everything sharper. Alex found himself sitting with her more often, speaking gently, even when she didn't respond. He learned to mirror her movements, to hum softly alongside her, and to offer a hand without forcing contact. Every small gesture mattered. He realized that care wasn't just about understanding, it was about presence. Even if he couldn't fix her discomfort, simply being there seemed to bring her moments of calm. By the end of the first week, Alex's life had completely changed. His apartment no longer felt like a small, lonely space. It was a shared world, fragile and strange, lit by alien light and filled with emotions he had never experienced. Zara's presence was overwhelming, challenging, and beautiful. Alex knew, deep in his heart, that this lockdown would test them both in ways he could not yet imagine, and that what they discovered together could redefine everything he thought he knew about connection, empathy, and what it meant to truly be human. The next morning, Alex woke to the faint hum of the apartment. It was soft but insistent, vibrating in the air like a warning he couldn't ignore. He saw Zara sitting on the floor, her silver skin flickering in patches of pale gold, and she seemed smaller somehow, tense and fragile. Her breathing was uneven, rising and falling like waves, and Alex realized immediately that this was more than restlessness. It was a deep, physical struggle he had never seen before. "Are you okay?" he asked gently, approaching her. She looked up at him with wide, glowing eyes. They were the color of molten silver but now streaked with tiny sparks of amber, and they made him pause. The look in her eyes was neither fear nor anger. It was something raw and natural, something she could not control. "I can't stop it," she whispered, her voice breaking in strange rhythms that made Alex lean closer. "It comes sudden strong." He didn't understand the words fully, but the meaning was clear. Zara's body was going through a natural cycle, an intense, overwhelming experience that caused her heat, trembling, and erratic movements. She tried to rise, but her legs wobbled, her silver glow pulsing like a heartbeat in danger. Alex moved quickly, kneeling beside her, offering his hand. She flinched, not in fear, but from the sheer intensity of what she was feeling. Over the next few hours, Alex became a careful observer. Every twitch, every shiver, every flicker of light from her skin told a story he had to read. When she trembled, he guided her gently to the cushions. When she hummed, he hummed softly back, matching her tones to soothe her energy. It was exhausting for him, yet impossible to leave her alone. The room seemed smaller, hotter, almost alive with the energy she emitted. Alex noticed the strange details that made him realize how alien her species truly was. Her heat was not constant. It flowed like a river through her body, concentrating in waves. When she moved too quickly, the air around her shimmered. Small objects near her seemed to vibrate subtly, reacting to her energy. He had to step lightly, not just out of caution, but out of awe. Even in distress, she was breathtaking, and her suffering tugged at his heart in ways he couldn't explain. By midday, the intensity increased. Her hums grew louder, almost painful, and the golden patches on her skin spread. Alex remembered the emergency measures she had once mentioned in passing: rest, calm energy, and touch that synchronized with her pulses. He tried each carefully, holding her hands, letting her rest her head on his shoulder and whispering soothing words. Slowly, her trembling reduced, though only marginally. Alex realized that he was learning a new kind of empathy, not the easy kind you show to friends when they're sad, but the deep, instinctive understanding that came from being present during a pain that was foreign and overwhelming. He had no solution, no manual, no guide from human science, yet he felt a growing confidence that his presence alone mattered. Her trust, fragile as it was, depended on him. As the day turned into evening, Alex found himself talking to her softly, not just with words, but with tone, touch, and gesture. He mirrored her movements, creating a subtle rhythm that seemed to calm her. For the first time since the cycle began, Zara's hums softened into gentle murmurs, and her glowing eyes dimmed to a steady silver. She rested against him, exhausted but more at peace. In that quiet moment, Alex understood something profound. Care transcended species. Connection was not about understanding everything perfectly. It was about showing up, staying present, and letting someone know they were not alone. Watching Zara slowly recover, he felt a swell of emotion he had never felt before: pride, relief, and a deep, human compassion that he knew would define his relationship with her forever. And as he sat there, holding the alien being who had become so much more than a roommate, Alex realized the lockdown had stripped away the ordinary, leaving only the extraordinary, a bond formed in struggle, patience, and quiet understanding. The days of lockdown began to blur together, stretching into a monotony that weighed heavily on both Alex and Zara. Outside, the city was silent, and even the distant hum of traffic felt like a memory. Inside the apartment, every sound, every movement became more pronounced. Zara's heat cycles, which had already begun to trouble her, now became harder to manage. Alex noticed subtle signs he hadn't before. Her tail-like appendage twitched, her silver skin flickered unevenly, and her hums shifted into irregular, almost desperate patterns. Alex tried to help. He rearranged the apartment, creating open space for her to move freely, blocking sunlight with thick curtains and lowering the room temperature as much as possible. He played soft vibrations from a speaker, hopping the frequencies would calm her alien senses. Each adjustment seemed to help briefly, but then Zara's energy would flare again, leaving Alex frustrated and helpless. Yet, he refused to give up. He knew she was struggling not just physically, but emotionally, and that part was harder to soothe. Some nights Alex would watch her packing, her glowing eyes flickering between silver and amber like a warning light. She didn't speak much during these times, but her movements told him everything: agitation, discomfort, and an intense, natural cycle that demanded attention. Alex learned to anticipate her patterns, noticing when she needed support and when she needed distance. Sometimes he would sit quietly, letting her move around him, feeling the subtle shifts in air and energy as if they were alive. It was during one of these nights that Alex realized just how alone she must feel. Cut off from her home planet, confined in a small Earth apartment, and experiencing sensations no human could understand, she relied entirely on him. Her gaze met his briefly, full of vulnerability, and Alex's chest tightened. He had never been responsible for another being in such a profound way, and the weight of it both frightened and inspired him. He had to remain calm, steady, and compassionate. More than anything else, he had to be her anchor. The challenge wasn't just physical, it was emotional. Zara's cycles brought waves of sensitivity, subtle but intense, that made her overreact to small noises or sudden movements. Alex had to adjust constantly, changing his tone, his gestures, and even his breathing to match hers. There were moments when she recoiled from him, and moments when she clung desperately. Each moment was unpredictable, but he stayed present, refusing to step back. He discovered that patience wasn't passive. It was active, vigilant, and unwavering. By the fourth day of heightened cycles, the apartment became a theater of silent struggle. Zara would hover near the center of the room, moving in small, precise patterns, while Alex followed her rhythm, matching each step and hum as best as he could. They developed a language of touch, glance, and subtle sound. No words were needed. Her body heat still surged in waves, but Alex learned how to absorb it, how to provide grounding, and how to create small pockets of calm that lasted longer each time. Despite the exhaustion, Alex found a strange satisfaction in the effort. It was as if he had unlocked a new part of himself, one capable of empathy beyond understanding. He could feel her energy as clearly as he could see her glowing skin, and he discovered that being human didn't limit him. It enabled him to connect in ways even advanced technology couldn't replicate. There was beauty in the chaos, a strange intimacy in facing something so alien together. By nightfall, both were drained. Zara finally curled against the cushions, her glow dimmed to a soft silver, and Alex sat beside her, feeling the residual heat radiate against his arm. He realized that survival wasn't just about getting through the lockdown or managing her cycles. It was about companionship, trust, and unwavering presence. In the stillness, he understood that this shared struggle was shaping something permanent between them, a bond that bridged worlds, species, and understanding. The next morning, the apartment felt quieter than usual. Alex noticed the subtle changes in Zara immediately. Her movements were slower, her glow steadier, but her eyes held a lingering tension that hadn't yet faded. The night's cycle had left traces of exhaustion, and yet she seemed more approachable now, less frantic, as if willing to accept his presence without reservation. Alex felt a mixture of relief and awe. He realized that the bond forming between them was no longer about managing her alien physiology. It was about connection, trust, and the fragile intimacy of being present during vulnerability. He offered her a small gesture, a cushion arranged for her to rest, a glass of water at her side, and a soft hum meant to match the quiet rhythm of her breathing. At first she hesitated, glancing at him with her glowing eyes, uncertain if she could accept comfort. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, she lowered her glowing head toward the cushion. Alex sat beside her, careful not to overwhelm, feeling the warmth radiate from her skin in waves that were alien but oddly familiar in their rhythm. Time passed in silence, filled only by subtle hums and the occasional flicker of her light. Alex became aware of every micro-movement she made, how her hands rested, how her breathing shifted, and how the faint vibrations in the air changed as her body relaxed. He found himself speaking softly, narrating small things. The sunlight will fade soon. The city is quiet. We're safe. His words were simple, but they carried the weight of reassurance. He realized that empathy sometimes required translating complex feelings into clear, grounded statements. Then came the moment he didn't expect. Zara's glow, usually a strong and erratic silver, softened into gentle waves of blue and silver. She leaned slightly into him, her movements hesitant but deliberate. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "Thank you." The simplicity of the words hit Alex harder than he imagined. It wasn't gratitude alone. It was recognition, trust, and an acknowledgement of the shared struggle they had endured together. In that instant, Alex felt a deep surge of emotion, a human connection so profound it transcended the boundaries of species. As the hours passed, Alex continued to stay close, guiding her through small exercises to ease tension, stretching, controlled breathing, and gentle vibrations that resonated with her pulses. Zara responded with subtle signs of comfort, a faint hum in harmony with his, a steadying of her glow, and small shifts closer toward him. Each response, no matter how minor, filled Alex with quiet satisfaction. He realized that love, empathy, and care weren't limited to human relationships. They could extend across galaxies, through entirely different experiences of the world. At one point, Zara looked up at him with a hint of curiosity in her luminescent eyes. "Do humans always care like this?" she asked, her voice trembling with genuine wonder. Alex hesitated, feeling the weight of her question. He wanted to give an honest answer, something simple and true. "Not always," he said finally, "but I think we're capable of it, and right now I want to be here for you." She didn't speak again immediately, but her glow softened further, as if the truth of his words settled comfortably around her. By the evening, the emotional tension had shifted. Zara's movements were less erratic, her glow steady, and she seemed almost contemplative. Alex understood that he had crossed an invisible threshold, not only as her roommate or caretaker, but as a companion she could trust completely. In that small apartment, during the unusual circumstances of a global lockdown, an extraordinary bond had formed. It was quiet, subtle, and profound, a connection built on presence, patience, and the willingness to face discomfort together. As Alex watched her finally rest, the apartment no longer felt constraining. It was a shared sanctuary, filled with understanding and trust. He realized that whatever cycles, struggles, or challenges lay ahead, this connection, this human-alien friendship, was the foundation upon which they could survive and even thrive. And for the first time, he felt an unexpected certainty. Empathy, courage, and care could bridge worlds, and he was ready to stand beside her through whatever came next. The following day began like any other during the lockdown, quiet, tense, but manageable. Alex had grown used to the rhythm of Zara's cycles, and he believed he could anticipate her needs. But around mid-morning, something unexpected happened. Zara's glow intensified suddenly, brighter than Alex had ever seen. The silver light that usually shimmered smoothly across her skin now pulsed in sharp, violent waves. It filled the apartment, reflecting off the walls and furniture, creating shifting patterns that made Alex feel dizzy. Zara's hums rose in pitch, vibrating through the floor and walls. Alex's chest tightened. He had never seen her energy surge like this before. "Zara, stay calm," he urged, but the words felt meaningless against the storm of energy surrounding her. She moved erratically, packing back and forth in a blur of silver and gold. Objects nearby rattled slightly, reacting to the intensity of her presence. Alex realized that her heat cycle had escalated far beyond anything he had witnessed. It was no longer just uncomfortable. It was potentially dangerous. His heart raced, but he forced himself to stay focused. Panic would only worsen the situation. Alex remembered the strategies they had practiced together: grounding, soft vibrations, controlled breathing, and gentle touch. He approached her slowly, making sure his movements were deliberate and predictable. "I'm here. We'll get through this," he said softly, more for himself than for her. Zara's eyes flickered wildly, and for a moment it seemed she didn't recognize him. Then she froze mid-step, letting out a low, resonant hum that shook the apartment. Alex instinctively reached out and touched her hand. The contact was electric, almost too intense to bear. But instead of recoiling, she allowed him to guide her toward the cushions. He matched her rhythm with gentle humming, moving in sync with her pulses as she trembled against him. Minutes passed like hours. Alex felt exhaustion pressing into his bones, but he couldn't stop. He focused entirely on her, the subtle changes in glow, the small shifts in her breathing, the vibrations that told him when to adjust pressure or step back. Every instinct, every sense had to be on alert. He realized that empathy wasn't passive, it was active, almost like a survival skill. Her life and their bond depended on it. Then a small breakthrough. Alex noticed a momentary slowing in her movements, a slight easing of her glow. He seized the opportunity, guiding her into a deeper rhythm of breathing, encouraging her to focus on him, on the floor beneath them, on the steady cadence of the vibrations he generated. Slowly, the pulsing intensity began to soften. The hums that had sounded like a storm now became gentle, melodic, almost soothing. By late afternoon, Zara collapsed onto the cushions, exhausted but more stable. Her glow had returned to a soft, steady silver, and the apartment felt calm again. Alex sank beside her, panting, his own body tired from hours of heightened awareness and energy. He looked at her, realizing how delicate and extraordinary their connection had become. In the face of chaos, he had remained present, and somehow together they had survived. Zara lifted her head, her eyes soft but bright with gratitude. "I didn't think I could control it," she murmured, her voice trembling. Alex smiled, brushing a hand over her luminescent arm. "You didn't have to control it, you just had to let me help." For the first time, Alex felt the full weight of their shared experience. It wasn't just about enduring the lockdown or managing her alien cycles. It was about trust, patience, and resilience. In the face of unpredictable crises, he had found courage he didn't know he possessed. And Zara had found in him not just a roommate, but a companion who could face the storm with her. That evening, the apartment was silent again, but it no longer felt tense. The crisis had passed, but its impact lingered. Alex understood now that the bond they had forged could withstand anything, even sudden, overwhelming forces beyond either of their control. And as he watched Zara rest, glowing faintly and breathing evenly, he realized that their connection was no longer fragile. It had become a source of strength, a quiet but powerful promise that neither of them would face the unknown alone. The next morning, the apartment felt unusually calm. The intense energy from Zara's previous cycle had faded, leaving behind a quiet that was almost comforting. Alex moved around carefully, making small adjustments, pulling a blanket over her cushions, opening a window slightly to let in the cool air, and preparing a simple breakfast. He realized that even these ordinary human actions now carried a deeper meaning. They were ways to show care, to restore balance after the storm of her alien physiology. Zara lay curled on the cushions, her silver glow soft and steady, her breathing slow and rhythmic. She watched Alex from beneath her lashes, a small flicker of curiosity in her eyes. "You stayed the whole time," she said softly. Her voice carried a mixture of awe and relief. Alex smiled faintly, sitting beside her. "Of course, you didn't have to do it alone." The simplicity of the words belied their weight. It wasn't just about staying in the room. It was about witnessing her struggle, matching her rhythm, and proving silently that someone could be trusted completely. As they shared the quiet morning, Alex began to reflect on everything that had happened. He remembered the early days, her restless packing, the strange hums, the flickering light of her skin, and the panic he had felt when he first realized how intense her cycles could be. Now he could see the subtle improvements, the way she settled faster, the smoother transitions in her glow, and the faint traces of trust in her eyes. The growth was not just physical but emotional. He realized that human empathy had bridged a gap that technology, biology, or even alien instinct could not. Zara stretched carefully, her movements slow and deliberate. She let out a soft hum, a sound that no longer vibrated the apartment violently but filled it with a soothing presence. Alex reached out, gently touching her hand, and she accepted it without hesitation. "I feel better," she admitted quietly, her glow flickering briefly with a soft blue hue. Alex nodded, a warm feeling spreading through his chest. He understood that recovery wasn't just about surviving the cycle. It was about rebuilding trust, finding comfort, and sharing strength. Throughout the day, they moved through small rituals together. Alex prepared food that was safe for her alien digestive system, while she adjusted small floating orbs that regulated light and temperature. They shared stories, him talking about his childhood on Earth, her recounting memories of Valor, carefully choosing what she could reveal. These moments, simple on the surface, were rich in connection. They were learning each other's worlds, finding ways to coexist not just physically, but emotionally. By afternoon, Alex noticed a subtle change in Zara's demeanor. She was calmer, more reflective, and her eyes held a quiet depth that spoke of resilience. "I never thought I could depend on someone like this," she said softly, her voice filled with wonder. Alex smiled, feeling a mixture of pride and humility. "We all need someone to lean on, even across planets." There was no humor in the statement, only truth. He realized that this bond, formed under extraordinary circumstances, was shaping both of them in profound ways. As evening approached, they sat together near the window, watching the fading light. The city outside remained quiet, but inside their shared space felt alive, not with chaos but with understanding. Alex felt a surge of gratitude for the lessons he had learned. Patience, empathy, and courage could transform fear into trust, struggle into growth, and isolation into connection. Zara leaned slightly against him, her glow dim but steady, and he felt a silent promise pass between them. Whatever cycles, challenges, or unknown forces awaited, they would face them together. Alex realized that recovery was not just about surviving a single crisis. It was about building resilience, nurturing trust, and discovering the extraordinary power of shared presence. And in that moment, the alien roommate he had once been unsure of had become something far more profound. A companion, a teacher, and a reminder that connection could transcend worlds. The lockdown was finally easing, and the city outside began to stir with life once more. Streetlights flickered to life, distant cars hummed along the quiet roads, and the faint smell of rain drifted through the open window. For Alex and Zara, however, the world felt different. The apartment that had once seemed confining now felt like a sanctuary, a place where challenges had been met, struggles endured, and trust had been forged stronger than any barrier between worlds. Zara moved through the space with a calmness Alex had never seen before. Her glow shifted gently, silver flowing into soft blues and muted golds. She paused by the window, gazing at the human city below with curiosity, almost reflective. "It feels strange," she murmured, her voice soft, "being back in quiet peace after so much intensity." Alex stood beside her, feeling the warmth of her presence without the earlier turbulence. He nodded, knowing exactly what she meant. They had survived cycles, crises, and lockdown isolation together, and the calm now felt like a reward for their patience, courage, and shared effort. Over the past weeks, Alex realized how much he had grown. He had learned to read someone completely unlike himself, to anticipate needs that no manual could explain, and to act with empathy beyond instinct. And Zara had learned to trust a being from another world, to accept help even when it felt uncomfortable, and to open herself to emotions she had not known could exist outside her own species. They were no longer simply roommates, they were companions, allies in a life made unpredictable by both circumstance and alien biology. That afternoon, Alex and Zara sat together on the floor, surrounded by small tokens of their shared life. Floating orbs for light, plants Alex had bought to remind her of Earth, and small notes where they had scribbled reminders of each other's habits. They didn't need to speak. The silence was full of understanding, a quiet acknowledgement of everything they had endured together. Alex felt an unfamiliar sense of fulfillment, a warm clarity that came from being present for someone else fully, without hesitation or expectation. Then Zara turned toward him, her glowing eyes soft and steady. "I never thought I could rely on someone from another world, but I did, and I trust you," she said, her voice calm but layered with deep emotion. Alex felt his chest tighten. "You don't have to thank me," he replied gently. "We're a team. Whatever comes next, we face it together." The simplicity of the words carried weight beyond measure. In that shared understanding, they found an unspoken promise to protect, to support, and to endure whatever unknown forces awaited. Evening descended, painting the room in muted golds and shadows. Alex noticed the subtle changes in Zara's movements. They were more confident, fluid, and relaxed. The cycles she had once struggled through no longer dominated their lives. Instead, they had become a rhythm they navigated together, a reminder of the bond they had built. He realized that the alien roommate he had once approached with curiosity and hesitation had become something more profound. A companion who had challenged him, taught him empathy, and helped him understand courage in its purest form. As night fell, Alex and Zara moved to the windowsill, looking out at the stars. The city below was quiet but alive, and above them the sky stretched endlessly. For the first time, Alex felt that the distance between worlds didn't matter, not when trust, care, and shared struggle could create a bridge stronger than any technology or instinct. He gently touched her hand, feeling her warmth settle alongside his. "No matter what happens," he whispered, "we'll face it together." Zara's glow pulsed softly in response, steady and calm, like a heartbeat synchronized with his own. In that final quiet, the apartment, once a space of tension and uncertainty, had transformed into a home built not just on walls, but on trust, resilience, and the extraordinary power of connection. And as they sat together, Alex realized the truth that had emerged from the lockdown, the cycles, and the struggles. Sometimes, humanity isn't just about being human. It's about courage, empathy, and the willingness to face the unknown together. They watched the stars, silent but united, knowing that whatever came next, they would not face it alone.